Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Ray Hernandez, and I'm joined for another episode of Behind the Bag with the man, the myth, the legend, Johnny Ice. Johnny, what's going on, buddy?
It is blazing hot outside, Raymond. It is blazing hot, and I think that's why you just rolled up your sleeves. Little tickets to the gun show. I didn't pay for this, right? I didn't pay for
Wow. Well, it's above 80 degrees here. This was a rookie mistake. I didn't turn on the air conditioner before I came into my office, and it is hot in here right now.
I turned on the AC, and right now I've got this great device that tells me temperature indoor, outdoor. It's 83 outside and still 85 inside. I think it's waiting for the air to kick in. But man, we are in for it. We have some thunderstorms on the way. We are just looking to get through this very, very special episode.
Yes, because I don't want to lose power. So we're going to bring the thunder today for our Bobby Bo episode. It's Happy Bonilla Day. Johnny, July 1st. My God. Every day for the next 15 years, we get to hear about Bobby Bo.
I feel like the legend of this day gets bigger and bigger each year, and it's, outside, it's mainstream at this point. I think, it's become mainstream, and great timing, a little reminder about the Bobby Bonilla episode. And I said, all right, let's dive right in. Let's do it.
Let's do this on a Tuesday night. Hey, listen, before we get started, and we'll take a little detour and do our standard, but I don't know. Did you see the tweet? I think it was either from the Mets or Steve Cohen. I can't remember. They all blur together, but like tomorrow we've got a big announcement. I mean,
oh no.
Did you see the tweet?
No.
Oh my God.
That's great.
It was the New York Mets. I think it was the Mets handle. It said, we've got a big announcement tomorrow with a big smiley face. I wonder if Steve's just going to pay off Bobby Bo.
I think we should let him play in the outfield tomorrow. I mean, why not? Send him down to Atlanta or whatever.
Well, either that or send him this. Oh, wait, the lights just flickered, John.
It's either the Undertaker or yeah.
Did you see that?
Yes.
The lights just flickered here. So let's just get started
here, folks. You never know. We may not live through this episode, so let's do it, right?
All right, John, take us away.
Well, Ray and I have been going back and forth, and we talk about bottom of the barrel, scraping the bottom of the barrel. The Mets are looking any and everywhere now for talent to fill up their roster. It is pretty incredible. So if you have a favorite independent league team, a favorite beer league team, and you have that star outfielder, you may as well go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a ton of people coming from the independent world.
You know what? If you've got a pulse and an arm, you are good to go. Our boy Mason Williams, speaking of being good to go, I mean, how about him? He gets designated for assignment, then he elects free agent. You'll remember, John, I sent you the tweet. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Him.
We were done with Mason Williams.
And then 2 days later, he re-signed.
Yeah, I guess
the Newark Bears. He was like, Newark or Syracuse? What do I do?
Yeah, he realized. But, speaking of things that Ray predicted or Ray said goodbye with, quick ESPN alert today about Dellin Betances. Which I thought he was on his way back.
He was in his rehab assignment. Actually, if we go back to our preview episode in the archives, didn't I say he would be the first?
Yes. Yeah. God. It's there.
It's there, folks. You go to the archives and you listen, and now it's official.
He played in a few more games than Jed Lowry as a Met. Not many more.
Just took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say at least he blew a couple of games for us.
Yeah, Go ahead.
I was going to say he joins the every other former Yankee to become a Met to just bomb.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, he's
Kareem Garcia,
I was going to say
Shane Spencer, and now
Stanton always sticks out. Oh,
now
goodness.
Dellin Betances.
Well, what I was going to say is, we're speaking about throwing money around. Ray went to the Jacob deGrom Day this past weekend, and sat in the section. I have to say, I've been recommending to him since Citi Field opened. Shout out to is it now the Delta Club? Is it the Porsche Club? What is it?
It was the Mike Piazza Club.
Oh my God, it's called the Mike Piazza Club.
It's the Mike Piazza Club with access to the Jim Beam Club. Oh, someone just hit a shot. Sorry, it's the Hulu delay. With access to the Jim Beam club, where you can find Tipsy Scoop, which we talked about in the last episode from our friend Princess Gefeltovich. But I had a blast That for now on is my new section. I will start recycling my cans now because, you know, a little pricey, but you get what you pay for. We were like right underneath the press box. I could feel the cool air from the air conditioning from the press box. Got to see my boy Anthony DiComo working his magic.
Back when Adam Rubin was on the beat over there, I used to I would throw a shout out to Adam Rubin.
Really nice.
Yeah. He would respond to the tweet every once in a while, which was pretty funny. But those are, I think it was once the Delta Sky Club.
Okay.
It's changed a couple of times, but it's really that section between like 326 and 311 or something like that.
322, baby. It was fantastic. Nice padded seats. Oh, it was fantastic.
The real thing for me though is the seats. If you want to eat on the inside, it's like a food court.
Yes,
and you can sit down. You know,
get a nice high boys if you want.
Nice view of the World's Fair or whatever's on the other side there. But high boys. I think that's where I have my full set of Mets little mason jar, the plastic mason jars, because they give you those when you get an actual alcoholic
for $24.
Beverage.
Very nice.
Yeah. Shout out to Ant for giving me his extra. So Ray was there, had a great time, and those, that's where you can find us. Those will be our sponsored season tickets.
That's it. Exactly, and I'm totally on board. Listen, I know this isn't the Jacob DeGrom episode. We'll save this for another day. But that was a very exciting game. I mean, and the awesome thing about those seats, we were at row 6, which is the last row in that section. So I was able to stand. I actually stood against the press box. There's enough room. There's a concourse there, and that was pretty cool. But Billy McKinney's slide, that was the coolest slide I've ever seen in person. It was like a water slide the way he just went across home plate.
And you got to watch out these days because everybody slides over bases now. So you got to only do that at home plate. When you don't have to stick out. You don't have to stay there.
Exactly.
It's pretty crazy.
Speaking of pretty crazy, today's the anniversary of the Mets coming back from an 8-run deficit. The Mike Piazza 3-run homer against the Braves.
Jammed house at Shea. What a show. 8-8. Piazza, 2 down. Mets have scored 6 runs with 2 away. Piazza rips it. Will it stay fair? Goodbye, home run! Mike Piazza, a 3-run homer, 11-8.
Can't believe it's 21 years old.
How scary is it that a Mike Piazza highlight is 21 years ago?
I have no words. I have absolutely no words. And I remember it like yesterday, being in the basement of my parents' house.
And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna link the video on whenever Ray does his little blog post. But the sound from the Shea crowd,
absolutely,
I miss that so much.
I want to get to Bobby Bo, but before we do that, let's get to our favorite segment. I know Anthony always asks for this segment. Even Nick asked for this segment. So it is, the gimmick is moving. Stevie, cue it, baby.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
All right, it is birthday time. And as Ray knows, my favorite all-time trade acquisition, June 28th, Richard, not Guadalupe Hidalgo. Happy birthday to Richard. I don't know what happened to Richard. After his time on the Mets, he had 1 year with, I think, Texas, never to be seen ever again. What a, 2-week period run at Shea Stadium by Richard Hidalgo in the 2004 or whatever season.
Hey, and I don't mean to, I'm going to have to stop the birthdays. I see Luis Rojas, Hefner, the trainer, coming out to see Peterson. This is real time here.
It won't be a happy birthday for Peterson.
Because, my God.
Bad boy Reed Foley on the way in, folks.
Oh, my God.
Here we go. Speaking of relief, not a relief pitcher, but a pitcher. June 30th, Chan Ho Park, who had a bit of a stint.
I don't remember Chan Ho Park as a Met.
It was a weird mid-season thing. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, it was very
I do
odd.
not remember him as a Met.
Wasn't Dice K a Met too?
Dice K was a Met, and he was awesome. He had a good run. It was the end of season there.
You know, it's interesting, and we won't digress too much, but Dice K had that dominant stuff for a very short period of time too. He had, there is a shout out to the blog that Ray wrote, Pedro Martinez and Jacob deGrom, but Dice K showed some flashes there of some really unhittable stuff, and then it caught up to him, I guess.
Absolutely. Speaking of being caught up on the June 30th, so we're wishing a happy birthday. We got Tony Fernandez, who rest in peace. I think he passed away earlier this year, which is again crazy.
Crazy.
I can remember him playing in a Met jersey. Ron Swoboda, they used to call him Rocky, who played such a key role in the '69 Mets team. If you get a chance, read the book written by Wayne Coffey about the '69 Mets. Whole section about Ron Swoboda. Really excellent stuff. Then we get to July 1st, which is Bobby Bonilla Day. And that is not the only Met highlight, right?
Yeah, I don't think we could go as high as highlight, but Chris Flexen's birthday, who I believe we talked about recently, and Michael Wacha, who I forgot was on that was a 2020 thing. Michael Wacha.
Yeah, last year is a blur. Last year is a blur.
I remember when he was dominant for the Cardinals, and they had the little Jason Stark clip on ESPN, Waka Waka, but away that went, off into the atmosphere. 7-2, Angel Pecan.
Angel Pagan, another guy that was an entertaining Met, would make you scratch your head a little bit at times with his play, and then he goes off to be like this key cog to the San Francisco Giant World Series championship teams.
Yeah, he had that like 5-tool build, but couldn't have all the hitting just never came around. But he was a hell of an athlete. Now you want to talk about athlete. July 3rd, meme worthy himself, Tommy Hunter on July 3rd has a birthday. I don't know, will we see Tommy Hunter again?
I hope so. We could definitely use him. That's for damn sure. He pulled a muscle doing his little dance on first base there.
That shimmy will forever be on my phone, and I will send it to people, and they will continue to ask me because they have no idea what it's about. But I'm like, he kind of looks like me, and he's doing like a little bit of the twist on first base. Moises Alou twisted around a couple of times during the whole Steve Bartman incident, but he had a solid run as a right-handed bat for the Mets when he was playing for them and healthy.
He had that one streak where, and I think that was the year they collapsed. He was the only one that was hitting, but I think he had like a 18-game hit streak, something along those lines. We talked about Moises Alou in the Terry Collins episode, as well as the Omar Minaya episode. Do yourself a favor, listen to those. And wild to think that he's Luis Rojas' half brother. So there you go.
It's crazy. It's a lot to process.
Other birthdays, Danny Heap. Let's here. Do you know the fun fact about Danny Heap?
No, bring it on.
First designated hitter in New York Mets history. Danny Heap, the first ever DH during the '86 World Series, Game 3 in Boston.
There you go. Ray is looking for his bat now that he used in that series.
Yes.
And then I don't know why I had to throw Frank Tanana on there. Frank Tanana, was he a twin? Tigers,
twins. I don't know.
Yeah,
he was the lefty, right? He was like a tall lefty. I think when he came to the Mets, it was over. Which, although at this point we could use a Frank Tanana.
We're gonna need to get a soundbite in for whenever they came to the Mets. It was over. It was like it's the end of it. And then we'll just bring it home with on July 4th, Jose Oquendo, who I don't remember being a Met.
So Jose Oquendo, let me just real quick, if you get a chance to read Ron Darling's book, 108 Stitches, he has a great story about Jose Oquendo. And it actually, first of all, Oquendo was more of a Cardinal, I believe. That was where he made his run. At least that's where I remember him.
That's where I remember him as well.
But apparently, Frank Howard was the manager of the Mets when Ron Darling came up. And Frank Howard was this old school, chew you out kind of guy. And unfortunately would make fun of Jose Oquendo because he didn't understand English. And that's just horrible. It was a horrible thing to read. And I think Ron Darling really does a nice job of acknowledging how horrible it was. Yeah, I mean, I flag that for folks to, one, read Ron's book, but two, it's amazing how times have changed, if you will. I mean, to degrade your own player because he can't speak English when he makes a mistake is just terrible. So no wonder he didn't flourish in New York.
Yeah, he spent his first 2 seasons with New York and then ended up spending the next 10 with St. Louis. So glad it worked out for Jose Oquendo. And then next on the list, I had a question mark, Jared Hughes. Was he a pitcher at some time?
Yes. You don't remember Jared Hughes from last year?
Last year.
Come on.
I don't remember anything from last year.
He's the guy that, he fell off the mound. JT Realmuto rolled his eyes on him.
I remember.
Yeah, he threw the pitch and then he tripped over his own feet and, still made the play.
And he retired Valentine's Day this year. So shout out to Jared Hughes. And maybe that brings our birthdays to a close.
Maybe we can bring him out of retirement.
That tumbles our birthdays off the mound.
Good way to call in the lefty or the righty. Let's call in the switch hitter.
All right. Well, we still have power, and we've made it past our whole intro. How about that?
Thank God. Let's keep it moving, folks.
Yeah. So we're talking about Bobby Bonilla today, and it has been a while since I think we had a dedicated episode. So yes. I figured we'd go in, get a little background of Bobby Bo, and to tell little stories, see where he came from, because Bobby is more than just a contract, folks. He's more than just a business deal.
Absolutely. He's a very smart businessman, though.
He sure is. And you know what? We'll get into that later. There's if you start looking up about the the Bobby Bonilla deal, there's actually economist articles about it because of comparing what the risk that Wilpon had taken at the time because of Madoff. But we'll get to that. Somewhere far, far away from Madoff and the Wilpons is the Bronx, New York, which is where Bobby Bo was born.
Bobby Bo,
born February 23, 1963 in the South Bronx, as we call it. It was funny, the article I read. The second largest population of Puerto Ricans behind San Juan, Puerto Rico. So,
wow.
See you in the Bronx, everybody. So
right.
Bobby's parents were from Puerto Rico and moved to the Bronx. His father was an electrician. His mother was a psychologist. So,
the irony.
Yeah. Away we go. Away we go. So they divorced when Bobby was 8, and him and all of his siblings lived with his mother. His father was close by, and he said that his father would take him out on electrical jobs to basically show him how hard and dangerous the work was.
Wow.
And I don't know if it was a scared straight moment or what, but he'd ask, Bobby, is this what you want to do? And Bobby would say, no. I'll work on my baseball a little harder, which is, there's always stories like that, it seems.
No, absolutely. Listen, have you ever tried, we had an good electrician friend, by the way. It's hard to find a good electrician, by the way. And the work that he did in this house, I got to tell you, I'd be dead.
That's one of those guys. So we side note on electricians. Those are one of those you need a friend or a friend of a friend, because it's anything could go wrong and
yes.
You don't see it behind the wall, so they could tell you whatever is going on.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We had a great guy come by one time. We had outlets all over the house were non-grounded outlets. They were all 2-prong.
Oh wow.
So we had to go from fuse box and 2-prong to circuit breaker and grounded 3-prong.
Welcome to the new age, the new world, my friend.
Yeah, so Bobby Bo is electrifying the baseball team at the Herbert H. Lehman High School in the Bronx. So I was telling Ray before, fun fact, my mom went to Lehman College, which is in the Bronx, and Bobby Bo graduated high school in 1981.
What a guy, this Lehman. I originally thought my mom used to go to this store in the Bronx. I think it was Loman's.
Loman's, yes. I could tell you a thing or two about Loman's.
Got some good shirts there. I remember my mom used to, buy some stuff for me back there, for Christmas especially. But anyway,
no, Loman's was a crazy place where there would just be women everywhere trying on clothes. It was very disturbing for me growing up. But back to Herbert H. Lehman High School. So he had this high school coach named Joe Levine, and he kind of credits Joe with a lot of his development, because kind of like a second father figure to him. And the story goes that Joe Levine had attended a seminar in Scandinavia, or about an all-star team that they wanted to assemble to play in Scandinavia in the summer of 1980. And Bobby Bowe was selected but didn't have money to go, so the coach Levine actually set up a Bobby fund to help his dad pay for the summer trip. And it's like, where would Bobby be without that? So that's a really special story.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And turns out while on that trip, it was basically put together. It was organized by Sid Thrift, which great name, by the way. I mean, you can't make up a name like this.
Sounds like someone that should be in like Better Call Sal. Saul is like Saul's like partner or something.
Yeah, it's like a guy. Shout out to
Sid
the upcoming Sopranos sequel. Sid Thrift is like the guy at the cleaners that takes care of all the business. So Sid Thrift,
I got a guy.
Our non-mythical character here, spent 20 years before this as a scouting coordinator for various baseball teams, and at the time was just working as a real estate agent. Again, weird, but maybe, who knows? Let's just say he was laundering money at the time. He was laying low. And they went there, and it's funny. He said the trip was the season of the midnight sun, and we all slept in one big room. There were no shades on the windows, and the sun never set. It was the most bizarre thing you ever saw. Which I actually have a midnight sun story, Ray. I don't know if you have a midnight sun story.
Not a midnight one. It was definitely maybe a 10 or 11 o'clock. I was in Norway on a business trip, but I don't have the midnight sun. Please.
Yeah, I went away with Joe. Shout out to Joe.
We're expanding
reach out
the
to the archives.
The road trip episode.
We went to Svalbard, which is actually Norway. It's an island in the Arctic. It's like 81 degrees north. And we went there in June. So you're talking about 24-hour sunlight.
Wow.
And we stayed at a hotel, and the first night it didn't have shades. So we slept, no joke, the both of us slept on the kitchen floor because it was the only room that had no sunlight coming in.
Dude, you didn't bring like your those earpieces? Not earpieces.
My nighttime blue blockers.
The blinds.
Nope. And then we went and we asked the next day, and they're like, "Oh, everybody uses aluminum foil." So we went full blown trailer park, and it works. It works beautifully. Aluminum foil on the window. Yep.
On the window. Okay.
In the window, and it reflects the light back, and whenever you sleep. So that is our midnight sun story.
Fascinating.
That story doesn't end so great for Bobby Bowe. So in 81, he was not selected in the draft. Spent a semester at NYIT, New York Institute of Technology, which is on Long Island. I actually got a scholarship from them.
Okay.
Shout out. This is my episode.
Shout out to the Johnny Ullman, Johnny Ice episode here.
Probably should have went to NYIT. But so then, the Thrift contact kind of came in key for Bobby Bowe, because Thrift called one of his old bosses when he was at the Pirates at the time, Branch Rickey Jr., which I was like, Branch Rickey Jr.?
I was going to say, when I read these notes, I was like, is John drinking? Like,
John's making things up.
Because, when I think Branch Rickey, I think obviously Jackie Robinson, but you think 40s. So, I guess this is the 80s, 40 years later. I guess it makes sense, but man, that's a name, man.
It's crazy. So Branch Rickey Jr., which I'm assuming was the son of Branch Rickey, is the minor league director of the Pirates, and basically, through the connection with Sid Thrift, gets Bobby Bowe an invitation, and that's how he gets his break. Which I always love the stories like that. It's really cool.
It's like Piazza, being the dad knowing Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah, the Lasorda connection. It's totally, that was the first thing that came to mind. So then, you fast forward to 1985, and, Bobby Bowe. So he was in the minors from 83 to 85. 85, he's invited to spring training. Then broke his leg in a collision with Bip Roberts, which is another name.
I was going to say Bip Roberts.
Bip Roberts.
I just remember him because of his name, Bip. He's like a Padre, right? Like
I remember him on the Padres. Yeah. And it's like, okay, Bobby Bonilla's got a few lives, so he kind of healed and then was sent back down to Class A, which happened to be at Prince William, and he met Barry Bonds in Class A, which ended up becoming one of his closest friends within the world of baseball. So
good God, amazing,
super interesting. And was it last week we were talking about the Rule 5 draft? I think it was one of the previous episodes, and so the White Sox actually picked up Bobby Bowe in the Rule 5 draft, And he actually made his major league debut with the White Sox in '86, which I did not remember.
No,
So.
no, I've only known him as a Pittsburgh Pirate as a kid. Can you imagine if Bobby Bo was on the '86 Mets?
Oh,
They would have eaten him
it.
for lunch, like him and Kevin Mitchell.
Oh man, that's some fun fantasy booking right there. But then our friend Sid Thrift comes back into the play because Bobby Bo's unhappy. Oh, here the beginning
Here we
of
go.
Bobby Bo's unhappiness and the White Sox.
Dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun.
and Sid Thrift, who happened to get a job back in baseball with the Pirates, magically as general manager brings him back in.
He goes from being a real estate broker selling homes in your local New York community to being general manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
You know what that reminds me of, the Michael Jordan conspiracy theory, when instead of suspending him for gambling, he took the season off. So maybe Sid Thrift got into a little bit of trouble, did a little time in real estate, and then all of a sudden comes back to be a GM. It's a little shaky there.
I like it.
But Sid Thrift himself, I love saying both his names. Sid Thrift hired the White Sox third base coach Jim Leland. So again, this brings Jim Leland into the picture to be the manager of the Pirates. And then so they traded Jose De Leon for Bobby Bo.
What a steal!
Which apparently in 2013, the ESPN did a ranking of each major league team's best deadline trade, and that was the Pirates' best one, Bobby Bonilla for Jose De Leon.
Wow, Jose De Leon. I just remember him as like, I don't know. Every game I remember, he used to get rocked by the Mets. And actually, the other De Leon game I remember is it's the first time I ever learned about a blister, because I think obviously he's pitching against the Mets, because I wouldn't be watching any other game. But I remember like they took him out because he had a blister in his hand. It was like bleeding, and I was like, "What is that? How do you get a blister from throwing the ball?" I mean, I'm 6 or 7 years old, So that's the fun fact with Jose De Leon, folks.
See, I learned about blisters in baseball a little later. As I digress.
Pickle juice.
Yeah, the pickle juice, the Charlie Huff. Yes. I feel like, pickle juice. Why we're on the same wavelength, right? I do not know, but yeah. But quick note on Jose De Leon: in 1985 and 1990, both years he lost 19 games. So
that's hard to do, folks.
Our friend Anthony, what's his name from the Mets with the
Anthony DeComo?
Anthony
Young. Anthony
Young. Yeah, shout out to Anthony Young. 19 lost season for Anthony DeComo has never lost a game. Keep doing what you do, Anthony DeComo. Oh my God. Man. So so that brings Bobby Bo back to the Pirates in '85. And just a quick note before we get into his Pirate stats: '87 Caribbean Series, which it seemed every year he would go back and play in or for Puerto Rico. His teammates were Roberto Alomar and David Cone. I was so surprised. David Cone
on the Puerto Rican national team.
Yeah, that was
there's got to be a story there. Is this a rib?
You know what? I was wondering if it was a rib, and then I looked around and there was footage of him in '86 on the Puerto Rico team. So
that's wild.
Must have been a fun time. But that brings us to Bobby's real kind of heyday and prime years in Pittsburgh, which is really kind of between '87 and '91. Some incredible stats, really.
I got to be honest. The Pirates were like our number one arch nemesis in the 89, 90, 91 season. And I feel like every game that I went to as a kid with my grandfather, they were always playing the Pirates. I don't know why.
I always saw Doug Draback on the mound.
John Smiley,
Candelaria, that kind of thing.
Oh my God. But Bobby Bo, he never stood out to me. I have to be honest with you. Barry Bonds stood out. The catcher, because he was the chubby guy. I think it was Candelaria.
Yeah, it was Candelaria.
And I mentioned those pictures, and then Sid Bream was another one that and we talked about Zane Smith in the Terry Collins episode. Like that's what I don't remember. And Andy Van Slyke. because he was a character, right? With the tobacco and everything like that. But Bobby Bowe, I don't remember. I know it's sad when you look at his stats. It's almost like he was the forgotten. I don't want to say the forgotten. That's not fair, but I don't think he got the publicity. I mean, maybe he did. I mean, those were the killer bees too, right? It was like Jay Bell, Bobby Bonilla, Barry Bonds.
Oh, and I hated Jay Bell, even when he came to the Mets with his glasses on. Take your glasses off, Jay Bell. But I will say for our like younger listeners out there, Barry Bonds in this time period was 5-tool hustle speed, like he was everything. Yeah. So it was very easy for him to like outshine everybody else.
He was like 185 pounds.
Yeah,
I mean, he was not the Barry Bonds
skinny stick. He looked more like Ken Griffey body style.
That's an excellent comparison. And in some ways, even like a Darryl Strawberry comparison.
Yeah,
that tall, slender, super athletic. But yeah, I'm looking at the stats. I'd like to know how Bobby Bowe played 163 games in 1989. I was just
wondering in 1989 whether 163 games came from.
Were they tied? Maybe there was a tie and they played an extra game. I don't know. But you look at his stats. I mean, he was an everyday player. Look at that.
Yeah, it's interesting that his most home runs actually came 93 with the Mets. Thunder time. But solid. Not, looking back at his stats, comparing them to modern day, nothing crazy, kind of more in that like Beltran-y kind of pocket. You're not looking at 40 home runs and 120 RBIs every year.
Yeah. What's interesting? And again, this is the first time I'm looking at these stats. So it's actually good because you're like, oh, wow. But you think about it. I think this is a product of like how good the Pittsburgh Pirates were. I mean, 88, 100 RBIs, 86 RBIs in 89, 120, 100. So, I mean, in 4 years with the Pirates, that's, 4 out of 5 years, that's 400 plus RBIs. But again, I think that's just the product of how good this team was.
And I forgot they had Rafael Belliard on that team too. I just looked
Belliard.
It up. Yeah. Wow. But I think that the pitching is what I really remember. Doug Dravic. I don't know if it's his hair or his
freaking mustache. How many marble lights? What was my favorite part about the Pirates? Actually, what I remember most, it's Barry Bonds, Doug Dravic, and Jim Leyland smoking cigarettes in the dugout.
Literally smoking cigarettes.
Literally marble reds. Right. And then I also remember like in what was it, like when you would play in Pittsburgh, which I hated, like in like July because it was so hot, the old school AstroTurf concrete stadiums, and you could just see the smoke coming up.
Steam.
Oh my God, how far we've come.
Well, Bob, I'll be in the new Pittsburgh Stadium. I believe that's PNC Park in about 2 weeks. So
2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Super exciting.
You'll have to do a report on that.
Yeah, so I'll be taking a trip, and Bobby ended up taking a trip in 1992, right?
Yeah. So I mean, look at his contract. That was the other thing. I didn't realize this. So great research on your part, but that what was it? 5-year, $25 million contract was the highest contract ever in MLB history, which is crazy when you think about it. I mean,
you can't even get a bullpen catcher for $5 million. I mean, it's insane. It really is.
I mean, Trevor May's making like $8 million a year, and I like Trevor May. Don't get me wrong, but that's crazy.
It's really insane, and it was interesting reading about this big homecoming he had. So he established right when he got here. I guess everybody remembers how it ended, but he got here and it's like there was hope. Everything was like excitement.
Well, and think about it for the Mets. I mean, and again, I don't know that I was excited about the move. I mean, 92, I'm about 9 years old at that point. But, this is a Met team that's in transition. You had the late 80s, the mid 80s, late 80s. The dynasty is starting to come to an end around 91. The wheels fall off. You get to 92, you have a new manager in Jeff Torborg, your man. You go off and sign Eddie Murray. You go off and trade for Brett Saberhagen. You go off and, I think there were a couple other acquisitions, Bill Pacoda, my man, who's now known for the Pacoda factor, whatever the analytics are behind that. And so Bobby Bo was kind of the centerpiece of all these acquisitions. So you're feeling really good. And I I hate to compare it to current day. And to be honest with you, I don't want to because I don't think that it's fair.
You don't want to put it in the atmosphere like that.
But let's just for ha-has, right? So 1991, Bobby Bonilla's last season. He's 28 years old, plays in 157 games, 300 batting average, 302, 18 homers, 100 RBIs, 44 doubles, which I can't even believe he was able to run that fast. He's an all-star. Gets third in the MVP voting. His first year as a Met, only 128 games. I know we're going to get into the troubles, trials, and tribulations. 19 homers, 70 RBIs, and he's batting 249. The pressure of a big contract, but in some ways it kind of reminds me of Lindor.
Yeah,
the booze,
smiling face coming in.
Yeah, exactly. The Puerto Rican high energy. And Bobby Bo wasn't high energy, but he had the smile. He had the I don't care attitude, the loose, not I don't care. I think in year 2, he became I don't care.
Yeah.
But I think
That
in year
lasted a
1,
year,
it was
yeah.
that loose. And again, most of the games were at night, so I didn't really get to see many during the school year, but I remember him with the earplugs. And it was game, set, match from there. Combined with, I think 92 was the worst team that money could buy, or was that 93?
That was 92.
So it's the perfect storm.
He
Vince
ended
Coleman
up,
and Bobby Bo. Oh my God.
oh goodness. Oh, what could have been? So he ended up hitting only 130 in May. And then, kind of when as things went, again, wearing earplugs and he had a bottle thrown at him in Pittsburgh, which was, you guys got him out of town. I don't know why you're throwing a bottle at him. And then,
thanking him.
Yeah. And then you have the worst team money can buy. Was that was Bob Klapisch? Is that who wrote that book?
Yes.
Yeah. Which I'm assuming you've read. I haven't read that book.
I have not read it yet.
Oh.
That's something we'll have to put on the summer reading list. But I do remember him getting you have it in your notes here, but he kind of tarnished his smiley image when he went after Klapisch and said, "I'll show you the Bronx. Don't mess with me. I'll show you the Bronx."
Yeah.
That was the end of Bobby's goodwill, his good image, all down the toilet.
Yeah, I don't know if it's related to the story getting out about him, trying to appeal a decision, but basically the historical story about Bobby Bonilla is that he once called the press box from the dugout to appeal, I guess, an error versus a hit. Yes. But it actually led to something. So I dug a little bit on this, and Red Foley, which is such an old baseball name, right? Red Foley was the official scorer of the game. And, now there are rules posted in the clubhouse that says official scorer will not take calls from uniformed personnel during a game.
I could just imagine Red Foley with a nice marble red.
He's wiping the ashes away from the scorecard as he's doing. Tell him it's an E6, kid.
This is so off topic, but one of the things we talked about it a little bit in a previous episode. I think it was the Mike Piazza episode, but I went to a game where we had my uncle won a suite at Shea Stadium at an auction, and so we got to go. And, walking in the press box area, because that's where all the suites were. And so it was cool. I actually went into the press box, and my whole world went upside down because Ralph Kiner was there, and he's smoking. And it was a green, soft box. So I don't know what pack it was.
Newports or something?
But they were soft. It was a soft, it wasn't the carton. It was.
He was smoking joints, is that what
and he's just sitting there, but he's looking at the game notes. I will always remember this. He's looking at the game notes and he's holding the cigarette like this. You see the smoke, and then he's taking a puff. And my world went upside down because as a kid growing up, seeing him on TV, you think of him as Mr. Rogers,
a larger than life pirate of days past, right? That's
Yes, it all comes
back
together.
Yeah, it all comes back around. So
Oh my god.
I didn't realize how many years Bobby Bowe ended up with the Mets. I guess maybe because of the strikes shortened season of
Yeah.
'94, but he really was with the team from 92 through the first half of '95, '93 and '95. He was an all-star, but
I think that was by default, though. Let's,
like
that's
one player per team kind of thing.
yeah. You guys
Hey,
are
he
so
still has
bad.
a star next to his stats.
That's-
Bobby number 25, Bobby Bonilla from the New York Mets. And then the trade goes down. So we cut bait
Thank God.
of Mr. Bonilla. So he was traded along with a player to be named later, which turned out to be Jimmy Williams, to the Baltimore Orioles for Damon Buford and Alex Ochoa.
I remember
Not
this
bad.
move.
Not bad. I mean, we didn't hang on to Alex Ochoa that long, but Damon Buford and Alex Ochoa. What do you remember about that, Ray?
Well, I just, look, a couple of things. I remember the Damon Buford connection because his dad played for the Orioles of the 69 Mets, 69 Orioles. So I thought that was kind of cool. I think that was the first time that there was like a father-son connection. He was a speedster, if I remember right, but, had a cup of coffee and didn't stick around very long. And Ochoa, we've talked about at length in the past, and always the what could have been. The thing that annoys me the most about that trade is, I think in September, when Cal Ripken breaks the record, and it's Bobby Bowe that's like pushing Cal Ripken to go run around the stadium. Like Cal doesn't want to do anything. It's like Bobby Bowe just trying to get his 5 seconds of fame because he realized all the cameras are watching him. You go ahead and watch a clip of Cal Ripken's last, when they stopped the game.
Yeah. And he does his high five around the entire stadium.
You'll see it's Bobby Bowe that pushes him and tells him to go. And, that annoys me.
I found it incredible that he drove to Baltimore the night that he was traded so that he could play. He ended up having a great season in '95, and then a good season in '96.
The best part about that one, though, going back to '95 real quick, I think that if I'm not mistaken, the Papa Phil was the manager. Phil Reagan, who was our pitching coach last year, he was the manager of the Orioles that year.
Wow, there's a name, Phil Reagan, really?
Yeah. There it is.
That's amazing. So, Bobby Bowe got some postseason experience here. So the Orioles ended up losing to the Yankees in the ALCS, but that was '96. The Yankees.
That was after our boy Tarasco.
Yeah, that was the whole Tarasco incident, but the '96 Yankees.
Look at his stats in '96, man. 28 homers, 116 RBIs, 287 batting average. I mean, holy smokes. He
was having a great year. Bobby Bowe, 159 games too, pretty impressive.
Man, what's also impressive? I'm just looking backwards here. His stats were not bad with the Mets, sans that first year. Once he got warm, 94, again, shortened season, but 290, 67 RBIs, 20 homers. And then 95, up until he's traded, 325.
Yeah, not as terrible, right?
18
not as
homers for me. That's doable. You're like, all right. He's just a jerk, but hey, he produces.
Exactly. So he had a nice run with Baltimore, and then maybe again. So he had a nice season that year. Again, Bobby Bonilla starring in the contract year, we'll call it, and so he was a free agent after that '96 season, and then this talks about, I don't know, maybe we could call them the best team that money could buy, right? The Marlins of that year.
Yes.
Reuniting Bobby with Jim Leland, who is now the manager in Florida, but they went all in, chips all to the center of the table in 1997 for the Marlins.
And, again, kills me because he's in one of those images of Craig Counsell scoring, and it's Bobby Bowe jumping at the home plate, and like, oh man.
Yeah, and if you look at the it's not the official lineup, but the starting lineup basically for the team in '97. Charles Johnson, the catcher, which we've talked about before, but Jeff Conine, Luis Castillo, Edgar Renteria, Bobby Bowe, Moises Alou, who comes back around, Devon White, and Devon White, and Gary Sheffield. So not
bad. You're feeling good.
Yeah, yeah, Mr. Mr. Huizenga put together a real squad there.
Hey,
And
can you go ahead and read that line from your notes? Because I thought that was clever. I want everyone to hear this,
oh,
Mr.
wait,
Waste Management himself.
yes,
That was very good.
That so the Marlins end up winning after 1997, and then just really go into the mode of Mr. Huizenga, who was a trash magnet, and he dumped practically his entire team. Yeah, I mean, everybody was gone. Everybody was gone, and we talked about this in the Piazza episode.
Yeah.
Marlins went from first to worst, whatever. But in May '98, Bonilla and Sheffield were traded with a bunch of other guys to the Dodgers for Piazza and Todd Zeile, and then that led to Piazza coming to the Mets.
Isn't that wild that Piazza and Zeile both wound up with the Mets like 2 years later as teammates again?
It's so crazy, all of these names, like we keep bringing up Moises Alou, and it's just like, and Gary Sheffield, and it's like these are all guys that ended up on the Mets too. So it's pretty funny.
Listen, let's skip ahead to the Mets, but before his second tour. But before we do that, I want you go ahead and read this quote because from Barry Bonds, because this I think summarizes Bobby's tenure in New York, and I just found this one really interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't know if Barry said this quote during New York or this is like a look back, but Barry said about Bobby, I can handle New York because I don't get my feelings hurt the way Bobby does. I don't give a blank what people write about me or say. Bobby does. He's too sensitive. I told him before he went there he wasn't going to be able to deal with it, but he didn't believe me. Now he believes me. So
that's
Barry Bonds trying to give a little advice on the way out
here.
But $5 million a year was a big deal in '92.
Well, with compound interest of 8% over the next.
Let's get right to it. Right, we somehow Bobby Bo is back.
That should tell you how badly we wanted Mel Rojas out of here. Which, by the way, I sent you this text. I damn near and I will bleep that out. Did you realize that Mel Rojas is Luis Rojas's cousin, like first cousin? I was like, what?
Again, a lot of full circle in this episode, but no.
I could not believe that because Mel Felipe is Mel's uncle. It's fucking crazy.
Make sure to bleep that one too. So November '98. Mets bring him in after just to dump Mel Rojas. And of course, Bobby Bo is upset and had clashes with Bobby V over lack of playing time. And then, of course, fast forward, Game 6, 99 NLCS. What happened, Ray?
I still can't watch that game. You know that, right?
that game, yeah. I already told you about where I was for that game, yeah.
The image of my dad just getting up and screaming, no! But yes, while that was happening, apparently Bobby Bo was playing cards with Ricky Henderson.
Must have been a hell of a game. You know what? I get a lot of artwork and like commissions done. I need to have somebody paint me. Ricky Henderson and Bobby Bonilla just playing cards. You remind me of that. I got a couple of guys that I talked to. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that drawn at the very least.
All right.
Just kicking back while the Mets are losing in the background.
I like it.
So this is where the real
Game 5. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know how many outs there are. They don't know anything. How many downs there are. So this brings us to what everybody was here listening for, right? The deal, which gains notoriety each and every year.
I didn't realize this was over 5.9 million. When you think about the fact that his first year in 92, 93 was worth 5 million.
It's insane. And, it just goes. So basically, this is the deal. The Mets released bonds after bonds. The Mets wish they had bonds. Yeah.
And they're selling bonds to pay off Bonilla.
Bonds is the apropos word. So the Mets released Bonilla after the 99 season and still owed him $5.9 million. Bonilla and his agent, who was a savvy financial guy, as we would all find out, offered the Mets a deal. Bonilla would defer payment for a decade, and the Mets would pay him an annual paycheck of $1.19 million, starting in 2011 and ending in 2035. adding up to a total payout of $29.8 million. So we're all following, right?
Yes, we all are, but
I don't
I
understand
don't
this
understand.
deal right here. I still don't understand.
why would I take? Well, we know why, but
Yeah.
On paper, at first thought, why would I give you 29 mil versus the 5.9? Right?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't understand why $6 million up front and you still think that 29 million, no matter what you're going to invest in. But basically, the background of the deal is Mets owner Fred Wilpon. You could bleep that out if you want. Accepted the deal mostly because he was heavily invested with this Ponzi scheme operator, Bernie Madoff. Who did he finally die? Did he die recently? Yeah.
Yes.
Goodbye, Bernie Madoff. So Madoff, which again, I don't know how anybody was not onto this earlier. His Ponzi scheme promised 10% returns forever. So it's like nobody catches on to this.
I need to talk to my guy because I ain't getting 10%.
Why can't I get 10% returns forever? And so Wilpon said, okay, instead of giving Bonilla $6 million in 99, I can invest this $6 million with Madoff. And, when Bonilla's payments start in 12 years, that $5.9 million that he invests would become 18 million because, again, this Ponzi scheme of never-ending 10% returns. So interesting math there. I mean, I guess I get it if you're believing that someone is giving you continued 10% returns. Again, how you think that exists.
What would have happened? All right, let's take hindsight's always 20/20. Got it. What would have happened if Bernie Madoff dies in 2002? Like, does your 10% return just stop? Right? I mean,
yeah, people find those guys with the calculators in the closets on the 22nd floor from that movie I watched. I mean, my goodness. That's one thing that one of the reporters came out and said. Like, yeah, I caught on to it because he never lost money. Nobody never loses money. That's crazy. So that was the basis. If anybody wants to know why, it seemed like $6 million at the time could be invested. He'll he wanted that, I guess, liquidity or whatever, and then he'd have a big sum of money down the road. And again, in 2008, the whole Madoff investigation and
Let me just say that 5.9 that we saved, in theory, what did we get for that? Turk Wendell and Dennis Cook? I mean, realistically,
I think he put 2.7 on black in one of his roulette games or something. It's such a weird move, but again, maybe I'm not savvy enough to know.
Yeah.
But this was interesting because there's a CNBC article about it, which is like, oh, cool. It kind of, again, like ascends beyond the sports wall.
Mainstream. Yep.
And, it was an economist, and he said an 8% guaranteed interest is especially generous. It's the equivalent of an 8% return on investment every year, and without the volatility or risk present in the stock market. And since the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to near zero during the Great Recession, savers can't get a comparable return on traditionally safe investments like cash or bonds. So like that similar return is similar to Social Security, which is, financial advisors think it's the best deals in town. System pays retirees an extra 8% each year that they wait to claim benefits up until the age of 70. But Bonilla's deal, Ray, is better.
It is better. Yes.
Since his heirs would also continue getting paid each year if he were to pass away. So this gets in the weeds, but I think it's interesting. So they said for context, if the Mets paid a lower interest rate, let's say they went to 3%, the team would have paid Bobby Bonilla $455,000 each year instead of $1.2 million, a total value of $11.4 million. So it's like the difference from 3% to 8% doesn't look like a lot, but wow, it would be less than half that they would have had to pay.
That's crazy. Listen, not for nothing. This is I apologize that I didn't do this ahead of time, but we will put this in the blog, this link to this article with some examples. But the Mets, obviously Bobby Bo Day is infamous. And fantastic. He gets his 1.19 mil every July 1. But there are some worse contracts out there. And I'm gonna pull the list here. You ready for this?
Okay.
We're calling an audible here. Todd Helton of the Colorado Rockies.
Oh,
He deferred $13.1 million from his contract. So starting in 2014, he receives annual payments of $1.31 million all the way until 2023. So
he took lessons from Bobby Bo.
yeah, so for the last,
cool.
I think Todd has been out of baseball for a while now, and still collecting 1.13. How about this? This is definitely all right. I'm going to read this whole paragraph. This is actually going to probably make you. I did not know this. You ready?
Bring it.
Brett Saberhagen is owed $6.25 million over 25 years. The payments are deferred from 2005 to 2029. The team that owes those payments are the New York Mets. His average salary is $250,000. So here we go. Here's the paragraph. You ready? Oh yeah, Bobby Bonilla isn't the only guy who hasn't played in like 2 decades who's still on the Mets payroll deep into the next decade. A 2-time Cy Young Award winner, by the time the Mets signed him at its age 28 season in 92, Saberhagen only won 10 games in his first 2 seasons as a Met. He was traded midway through his 4th season and largely considered a disappointment despite a top 3 Cy Young finish in 1994. Saberhagen's deal paved the way for Bonilla's more widely known deal. So, Saberhagen will keep getting paid by the Mets more than 35 years after his final full season with the club. Damn you, Bernie Madoff.
You know, I didn't realize that Brett Saberhagen was that young when he came to the Mets. I thought he just, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. He just was a
Fell off the cliff.
dud. Wow. Okay.
Fell off the cliff. So interesting. So I wonder if Fred was like, okay, we did this with Brett, so why don't we do this with Bobby?
He just loved having that cash on hand, man. It was
think
all about
that. 6.25. Why wouldn't you pay the 6.25 over right then and there? No, let's do it over 25 years.
Well, at least we have the first 2 in the lineup for Old Timers Day. Got Saberhagen and Bonilla. They're getting paid anyway.
Listen, I didn't realize Saberhagen was still on the payroll. All right. There are a couple of current players, so we're going to skip those folks because, that doesn't count. Is Ryan Braun still playing?
I think he is, actually.
He is? Then I'm not going to mention him.
I don't know. Ryan Braun might be on the free agent list. The other day when we were talking about scraping the bottom of the barrel,
yes.
I tried to find the available free agents. Yeah, Ryan Braun is a free agent. He played in 2020, though. I tried to find the available free agents out there.
Look at this.
He was one of them.
Look at this paragraph. So Ken Griffey Jr., wow, you want to talk about deferred. $57.5 million over 16 years. So every July 1st, Ken Griffey Jr. gets paid $3.5 million from the year 2009 till 2024. So for the last 12 years, he's been making, $3.5 million every year. That's crazy.
Wow. Do these teams have that kind
and
of
look, the paragraph
issues?
says Reds fans have to be counting their lucky stars that July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day and not Ken Griffey Jr. Day.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. There is things to be uncovered there.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Jacob deGrom is on this list, but you know what? I'm okay with that. You
Why
give him
would he
whatever
get
he wants.
deferred? Is that a salary cap thing? Is that
was a Fred Wilpon thing? It has to be. But interesting. I did not know this. Jacob deGrom, $52.5 million over 5 years, beginning in 2035. So starting in 2035, his annual salary will be $10.5 million every year on July 1.
Yeah, and he'll be making that Fox News analyst money, Fox Sports analyst money by then as well. So a couple of sources of income. He's diversified.
Look at this. When will the Mets ever learn? Maybe they're acting like they really like being in the news for Bobby Bonilla Day. Either way, remember, kids, deferred payments are like drugs. Just say no. That's fantastic.
That sounds like a great way. That sounds like a great final note for this episode.
Well, before we make that the final note, because I know we're getting close to bedtime here. And there's thunder. This is actually the perfect segment because we're counting here. Yes, Bruce Sutter, who no one talks about.
Oh, poor Bruce.
He's been getting paid by the Atlanta Braves since 1993.
See, they just pick on the Mets.
Look at this. He was owed $42.7 million spread over 30 years. Every year on July 1, Bruce Sutter makes $1.12 million plus $9.1 million at principal. I don't know what that means, but
wow.
He's been getting paid $1.12 million every single year since 1993 and continues to get paid that until 2022.
Oh, so next year we could say it's the last payment for Bruce Sutter.
It's like when I made my last college student loan payment.
But I'm hanging this return check up.
Look at this. Oh yeah, let's not forget to mention that the Braves will toss him a check for $9.1 million when the deferred payments stop in 2022.
We should be
so
there.
Next
it
year
should be one of those big checks.
Mil.
It's got to be a publisher clearinghouse check on the pitching mound.
Look at that. Look at that. And there it goes. Oh my God. Look, getting paid more than $10 million, 35 years after last working poorly for your former employer. Now, that's a pretty nice way to celebrate your 69th year on Earth. I love this article.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that investment. Just keep getting paid.
This is page 3. Do you want me to go to page 3 or do you want to bring this home?
I think we could bring it home.
All right. I'm going to put the rest of these bad boys up on our blog. And
that'll be an awesome list. Yeah.
Oh my God. Holy Christmas trees. All right, Johnny, listen, we made it. I see lightning strikes now, so I'm definitely going to probably lose power. I appreciate you. Now we've just got to edit this and hopefully it'll run on Bobby Bonilla Day this year, not next year. Listen, as always, it's a blast. Johnny, what do you have to say?
Happy Bobby Bonilla Day, everybody.